There are 3 things that boundary setting experts get wrong all of the time, and I'm so excited to bust through those 3 limiting beliefs and kind of misinformation so that you can accurately and effectively guide your boundary setting journey to a place where you are speaking your truth, you're connected to your truth, and you're able to construct a life that is in alignment with the life that you desire. Welcome to the Kaleidoscope channel. My name is Elia Pritchard, and we're just gonna dive right in. The first thing that people miss so often is that boundaries are not defense mechanisms. It's not the wall between you and other people. It's not the thing that keeps people out. It's not something that burns bridges. It's an invitation. When you are setting boundaries, you are making an invitation to someone by telling them exactly what they need to do to connect with you. You're saying, I'm available for this. I'm not available for this. You can connect with me in this way. You cannot connect with me in this way. You can speak to me in this tone, and I'm available for the conversation if so. And if you choose not to, I'm not available for the conversation, right? Boundaries are an invitation. This is how I like to be loved. This is what I need in order to find fulfillment in this relationship with you. This is what I desire from my work. And this is what I would like to expect. And this is not just in regard to other people. This is in regard to your relationship with self as well. What do you need for yourself? What are your expectations of self? And how do you hold yourself accountable to that? So boundaries are building bridges at all times. It's building bridges with the people and the experiences and the relationship to self that you want to have, right? Thinking of boundaries as a defense mechanism, as something that is angry or aggressive or violent or disconnects you from people or burns the bridge, is going to escalate your nervous system because you're already going to be anticipating conflict. You're going to be anticipating people aren't going to take it well. It's not going to be received, and it's going to cause a lot of issues. And will that happen? Yeah. Sometimes that is going to happen because the likelihood is that the majority of the people in the world are not going to align with your specific set of needs, desires, and expectations. And that is okay. That is okay. But what we're telling our nervous system when we embrace boundaries as invitations is that it is okay to exist in the state of your authentic self, with your needs, desires, and expectations, with your limits and the structure that you want to implement in your life. You get to own that space, and you can step into it from a compassionate and grounded and loving place and invite people into your world, right? Okay, so boundaries are not defense mechanisms, they're invitations. Inherently, yes, they protect you. But if you are using boundaries to protect you in escalated states of being, so when you're feeling anger or resentment or anxiety or fear or panic, that is not a boundary. That is a literal defense mechanism. That's a survival state that you are acting upon. So many of us, when we're beginning our boundary setting journey, feel tons of anxiety and fear and resistance to the idea of speaking our truth. That's because the body is telling you this is not safe, and it is escalating into a survival state out of a state of rest. Or maybe you were just in a survival state all the time and you're like, I can't speak my truth, so I'm just going to walk around with anxiety and project resentment onto other people and, avoid this opportunity to step into my power and own the life that I want to create and live into the relationships that I want to see actualized, right? So what we got to get you to do is start to emotionally regulate your nervous system and your body before you lean into setting boundaries, or before you step into boundary setting, right? When you regulate your body first, you're telling your nervous system, we're going to do something new. It might feel a little bit scary, and it's going to be okay, right? It's going to be okay. But if you are not able to regulate, then you are likely in a situation that is dangerous and therefore you're not setting boundaries, you're just protecting yourself. And that is okay if you're in that situation. But if you're in all of the other situations where you need to set boundaries and speak your needs out into the world, at work, at the gas station, on the bus, like in your family relationships, in your partnerships, with your kids, all of these situations might feel just as scary because your nervous system is like, it's not safe to be seen and to speak your truth. People are going to abandon you. It's going to freak out in the same way. But if you are wanting to lean into a life where you get to speak your truth and be seen, where you get to curate the experiences that you have, then you're going to emotionally regulate first. Does that make sense? You're going to practice breath work, which is one of the fastest ways to regulate your nervous system. You're going to go on a walk or journal, listen to some music, dance, shake, do a meditation, put something bitter in your mouth to shock your nervous system into a rest state, use essential oils. There's so many things that you can do to help your nervous system regulate out of a survival state into a rest state. And from this place where you are emotionally regulated, you're going to have access to your authentic, truthful needs, desires, and expectations. You're not going to be able to access your needs and your inner voice if you are busy processing anxiety and anger and you're escalated and your energy is out here. You're not going to be able to access it. And you're also not going to be able to reach people in a way that actually gets you what you want or sets you up to have the relationships that you deeply desire. If you're coming up going, I really need this thing, and you're in a defense mechanism, that's going to be mirrored in the person's response to you, right? So the most likely way that you are able to get your needs met, if there was anything that we could do to control someone being able to accept and meet our boundary, it is to be deeply centered, regulated, and in a compassionate state of being where you can make this invitation, right? And from that compassionate state, from that intention to connect, that I almost said intuitive place to connect, but from this intention to connect, someone is going to mirror that if they're able to meet you there, or you're at least going to be able to witness them from a calm state of being and see if they're able to meet your boundary or not. You're going to be able to sense if what you are asking for, they're actually available for or not, right? Based on their response. So number one, boundaries are not defense mechanisms, they are invitations. Number two, you have to emotionally regulate before you set boundaries. Otherwise, you're not setting boundaries, you're just in a defense mechanism. And I never hear podcasts talk about this. We're getting there. Like the field is talking more about somatic practices and the importance of starting with the body and then moving to the content of our communication. But rarely is it talked about. So often we go into Google and we're like, how to set boundaries? And it's just like, speak your truth. Ask for what you need. Be confident. And you're like, all of that sounds great, but my body is telling me that's not safe. And so like, how do I do that? Right? So you emotionally regulate the nervous system first, then you're going to be able to connect with your needs and really see yourself. Because until you see yourself and you know what your inner voice is telling you to do, you can't communicate it to other people. It's just going to get weird, honestly. Okay? It's just going to get weird. And the third thing that you are going to want to consider when you are learning to set boundaries is that it's not about just stepping in and saying, this is what I need. You can. If you're ready to do that, go for it, girlfriend or guy friend or person friend. Do it. But you're not going to know immediately. We need people to push past our boundaries, or we need to allow people to push past our boundaries most often. Because like 99% of boundaries that we set are going to be retroactive, right? You don't always know what you need until you're pushed past the extent that you are comfortable with and past the place where you're in alignment. And again, it's not other people pushing you past that. Like, you are allowing other people to push you past it because you're not paying attention and you're not regulating and you're not connecting to the intuition. So boundaries are going to be proactive when you are able to master your experience of being present and out of a survival state. But until that time, boundaries are going to be retroactive. So clear the guilt, clear the shame, be easy on yourself, give yourself a lot of grace in the beginning to just get to know yourself, to figure out what you need, desire, and expect from the world. And then go back to the relationships, the ones that cause the anxiety, that cause the resentment, the ones that activate it, rather. It's not easy. See, even I get caught up in talking about these relationships in a causal way, in a way that says the environment imposes all this stuff onto you and it should be responsible for your feelings. But the reality is, you are responsible for your feelings. You choose how to make meaning out of your life and your relationships and your experiences that you see happening about you. You get to choose how you feel in your body and what you create. In your body, in your relationships, in all things, right? You get to choose. So no one else is responsible for that, okay? And all of the relationships where you feel activated into anxiety, resentment, fear, blame, contempt, any of these quote unquote negative emotions, which are not actually negative, all of those relationships are places where you are allowing yourself to step out of your boundaries and your authentic needs. You're out of alignment. And most likely you're feeling those big emotions because you stepped out of alignment like 100,000 years ago, okay? 100,000 years ago, 50 steps before. You've been like self-abandoning, you've been people-pleasing, you've been shutting your needs down in order to feel like a good person and care for other people, or you've been shouting and blaming at other people, or blaming other people for the way that you feel because you're afraid they're going to abandon you and you're not going to be safe in your relationship. You've been doing this thing for a very long time because it kept you safe as a kid, and now it no longer does. Keeps you in a safety zone, but it also keeps you in a state of being that is uncomfortable, that is unfulfilling, that is not joyful, and is not expansive, right? It's not vibrant. But it's good. It's good. Use those emotions, and I'll talk about this in another video. Use the anxiety and the resentment and the anger and the blame and the shame and the fear and all of those negative emotions as indicators. These are indicators. It's a green light for you to slow way down, connect to self, self-regulate, help the nervous system out, and tell the body, thank you so much for this information that I am out of alignment. Thank you for telling me. And then go in, explore, get curious. All of those emotions are telling you genius insights to what you need to live a life that is aligned with your truest sense of purpose and self and whatever you want to create. If you don't believe in purpose, what do you want to create? How do you want to feel in your relationships? How do you want to think and feel about yourself every day when you wake up? Any intense emotion that feels overwhelming and is hard to deal with, like anxiety, anger, fear, guilt, shame, whatever, that is your friend. It's an indicator for action. Slow down, self-regulate, proactively set the boundaries that you need to set, okay? Give yourself a lot of grace because it's going to take time. But the nervous system will eventually learn that it is safe to show up in your power. It is safe to build trust through transparency, and it is safe to guide how other people connect with you in your life. You don't have to be a passive participant, right? Why the experts miss this in the field, I do not know. It's taken me a long time though, and a lot of self-exploration. If you know me, I went through my master's in couples and family therapy. I worked for like 4 or 5 years as a behavioral interventionist for children healing from trauma. So I did a lot of attachment work, a lot of neural restructuring, and a lot of boundary setting and emotion regulation work with them. So I took that into my actual life, realized that like 99% of adults also haven't, everyone's 99% right now. Whatever, don't worry about me, it's not, don't quote me. Everyone is still learning this stuff. How to emotionally regulate, how to clear the nervous system of stuck emotions and fear, and how to speak your truth and trust that that is safe. So don't worry about it, just start the journey. But I don't know why so many people miss this. Maybe we're just moving into a state where we can really connect to the body again. We can get out of the mind. We did the mindset coaching thing for like 20 years, right? We did the mindset coaching thing and the affirmations. Now we need to get into the body and trust. that it is the pathway through which we connect to the material organic world that we're living in, right? To all the relationships that we're having. Okay, quick review. Boundaries are invitations, not defense mechanisms. If you are in a defense mechanism or you are feeling any of those intense, overwhelming emotions, then take a deep breath, self-regulate, because you have to be emotionally regulated to connect with your authentic needs, desires, and expectations. Don't even try to speak your truth first. Just practice emotionally regulating. And once you are on the other end of that experience, the boundaries will flow naturally. Okay. And the third thing is boundaries are set retroactively. Okay. Give yourself a lot of grace. My name is Elia Pritchard. Let me know what you think in the comments. I know this is a super challenging topic, and I want to know if you've ever heard boundaries talked about this way, how you can use them as invitations. Like, what invitations would you make and with who in your life? Or like, what truths are you ready to speak? You know, what part of you, what needs, desires, and expectations are you ready to live into? All right? I love ya. Talk to you soon, and follow me for more. Yeah, subscribe, do all that fun stuff.